Hello, in this video we'll see checkout UI extensions for the thank you page and order status page. As the name suggests, these are checkout UI extensions, so most of what I've covered in the video about them still applies to this. But I wanted to make a video to show that these now exist and that they open new possibilities. Here is the page where Shopify introduces them, and this callout here says that these are in developer preview. However, if we go to Shopify's changelog here, we can see that the most recent item here says that these have now launched, so we are free to start using them in stores that are not under developer preview, so on a live store, for example. Now, if you don't recall how these pages look, this is what the customer sees after they place an order. So this is the thank you page, and if you refresh this page, or if the customer visits this page again, this is the order status page. So previously we were not able to add custom UI here through Checkout Extensibility, and now with these new types of Checkout UI extensions, we will be able to. So let's see how we can build them. First, we need to do some setup in Shopify's admin, but before that, I just want to mention that the extension we'll build here will be rather simple, just to demo this new functionality and show a few other things like rendering extension in multiple targets. If you want to see how something more complex is done, I have a video where I do a detailed walkthrough in building a Checkout UI extension, which I'll be linking both in the video description and also in a card now at the top right. As both thank you and order status page Checkout UI extensions are, as the name implies, Checkout UI extensions, most of what I cover in that video still applies to them. With that being said, this extension will let merchants add a product-specific message that follows the user throughout the whole checkout flow. So for example, if this was an electronics store, perhaps some items that don't include their batteries could have something like batteries not included, just so the customer knows ahead of time. We can of course add that to the product page, but by adding it also to the checkout, perhaps we create more visibility for it. And this is just an example, as what we'll be building here will be a generic solution. It can be repurposed to surface any kind of messaging, like mentioning that an item is of limited edition, that the item is on clearance, or anything else you can think of. Now the only setup we need to do is go here in settings, and under custom data here, I will create a meta field. The extension will be reading the data from this meta field and will be displaying it in the checkout, thank you page, and order status page. So let's name this checkout message. I'm going to select the type here to be a single line of text. It should be available in the storefront because we will query this using the admin API. So I will save this here, and now I'll go to products, and in this one I'm going to add a message here so we can work with this product as a test product. So the message here, let's say that it will be 80% recycled materials. Uses 80% recycled materials. If I save this, now we're ready to go. So let's build our extension. Now in Visual Studio Code, I'm going to run npm init shopify app latest, and let's name this thank you order status tutorial. We have to create a shorter title, so I'll just remove the word tutorial here. And let's select here start by adding your first extension. This will create an extension only app, as this I will only have the extension we'll create for the video, and this will install the dependencies. So I'll be back once this finishes installing. Now with the installation done, let's move all of these files from here. Let's move them out. Let's delete this folder here, and now let me run npm run shopify app generate extension, and this is what will create the actual extension here. Here from this list, I will select checkout UI, and the name for this will be thank you order status tutorial. I think this lets me have a larger title here. And now I will select here TypeScript React, but you can select any of these options. And let's wait for these dependencies to install. Now let's see what files got generated. Here in extensions, we have Shopify extension.toml. This is the configuration for this extension. Here we have things like the API version that the extension is using, the name, the handle of the extension, And this part over here is important, the targeting. Here we say in the module where the UI for this extension is, and in the target here we are telling Shopify exactly where to place this extension. This should match with the target that is in checkout.tsx. And talking of which, in checkout.tsx here we have this target over here, which as you can see is the same target that is here. Something else to notice from here is that this is rendering the UI. Here we are using the banner component, which we are importing from Shopify. And we are using this banner component because we cannot use regular HTML here. So if I erase this and I try using a p tag here and say hello world, this will fail, as Shopify Checkout UI extensions force us to use components from this library because Shopify wants to ensure that elements rendered in the UI look cohesive and consistent with the other UI that they have there. So this is a list of all the components that are supported for Checkout UI extensions. I'll leave a link to this in the description, and you can click on any of them to see what properties or props they receive. So for example, this block layout here, we can see all the props that this receives with a brief description of what they are. And here is an example of how to use it. Now, before running the extension, let's update the target here, because right now this is rendering in the checkout page and we want to start rendering in the thank you page. So here in the extensions targets documentation, let's scroll down to thank you locations here, and we want to render in order summary. In this image on the right here, you can see exactly where each target is rendering. The blue targets, if you notice, have all the same names of purchase, that thank you, that blog, that render. And what this means is that it will let the merchant or the store administrator select where of these blue spots they want to render the Checkout UI extension. The red targets instead are static. So if I say that it will render in purchase, the thank you, cart line, render after, it will render exactly there, and the merchant doesn't have control of where they want to move this. They can only either enable or disable the extension to show it there or not. And we are going to render this here because the extension we will be building makes more sense being rendered there. So let's go here to the code and let's say thank you. And if I autocomplete here, cart line item render after, I will copy this, I'll save it here, and I will paste it also here in the target for the configuration of the extension. And now I'll run npm run dev. It will ask me in which store I want to put this. Thank you order started extensions in the store. Handle can exceed 30 characters. So even though we were allowed to create an extension with more than 30 characters in the name, it seems like we have to modify it to remove this tutorial here. So I'll do that. Let me try running again. And it seems like it is running now. So I will press P to open the preview. Let's install the app. Let's close this now, and let's click on this link. And we are in the checkout, but we don't see anything yet because this is not the thank you page. So let's go there now. So let's fill this form here. I'm going to say test@email.com. I'm going to fill the last name here. For the address, you're going to type California. I'm going to put 1 and let's show if I complete the zip code. Select economy here. And now, as this is a development store, we can use a test card here. In this documentation here, we can see the numbers that we can use. So we can just put 1 and this will be a successful transaction. I'll put 1 here, the name on the card. Even though there it said that I had to use Bogus Gateway, I can really use anything. And now I'm going to set the date and the security. And let's pay now. And here we can see our extension being rendered. Now this doesn't look good, but this is where we start at. Now let's start modifying this to look how we need it to look like. Now back in the code, let's start removing the things that we no longer need. So I don't need to translate this. I'll be getting the text from a metafield. Also, I don't need any of this in the UI. I will instead use the text component here. This extension over here, I'm not going to use it. Instead, we will use Graphql. No, query. This will let us query the GraphQL admin API. And from here, I will remove banner and use translate. Now here the text, let's just say hello from my extension. And if I save this and I go to the browser here, we get this hello from my extension. Now let's make this text bold, so emphasis, bold, and let's change the size to be small. If I save this, we have this text smaller and in bold. Now let's get the data for the metafield that we want to display here instead of this hard-coded text. Okay, so first let's create a use effect here. We will run this on at the beginning. And now let's create a function here, async function get product checkout message. We will call this. And now from here, we will create const result. This will be equal to await query. And here we will create our query in a moment. But before that, let's import also use cart line target. And cart line target will tell us the ID of the product that we are targeting at the moment, because this extension will render in several places. It will render here, but if we had two products, it will render here and also for the next product in this exact place. So the extension will be rendered once for each product that we have in the cart here, or that the user has in their cart. And with this hook here, we can get the specific product this extension is currently rendering on. So let's say use cart line target here. And now this query, it will query the product result from the admin API. And here we will specify that we are querying the target.merchandise.product.id. From here we want to get a meta field, and we have to specify the namespace, which in this case is custom, and the key, which in this case is checkoutMessage. And then we get the value. Now this query here, as we are in TypeScript, we can create a type for this. So it is strongly typed, which will be product, and it returns a meta field. And the meta field is a string. Now the meta field can be null because it doesn't have to be defined for every product. So we have to account for that. Now let's save this. And now here, I also have to create an effect, state, and this will be checkout message, set checkout message. Let's say use a state. This can either be a string or null, and it will start being null. Now here, if there are no errors, so if result.errors is falsy, then we will check for if result.data.product.metafield, and if it is, like if this exists, then we will set the checkout message to be result.data.metafield, result.data.product.metafield.value. And here, if there actually is an error, let's just print that in the console. So result.errors. Let's save this. And now, if there isn't a checkout message, let's return null, because we don't want to render anything if the meta field is not defined or while this is loading. As all three targets will render the exact same UI, I'm going to export the three of them from this checkout.tsx file. So what I'm going to do is that instead of having a default export here, I'm going to name this thank you block, and I'm going to name exported, so thank you block. Then I'm going to copy this, and this will be order status block here. Let's name this here as well. And now we will delete all of this, and we will say customer account dot order status and card line item render after. So this last part is the exact same as this last part here. And let's do this one more time, but for the checkout page. So checkout block here, checkout block here. Let's delete all of this, and purchase.checkout.card line item render after. Now if I save this will still not work, because as I mentioned earlier, we have to also update shopify.extension.toml here. And now what we'll have to do here is add this export property to tell it which export this target refers to. This one is thank you block, so I'm just going to copy it to avoid any typo. And next I'm going to copy this 2 more times. For the order status, I'm going to copy this exactly as it is here. And the order status, I'm going to copy it as well. And for the checkout, I will do the same. And the name will be the same as well. Now I'm going to save this, and I'm going to restart the development server. And if I press P now, once this loads, I can see here my 3 targets. And let's click on the checkout one. And here we're seeing our message now, so this appears to be working. Let's fill this form again. So test@email.com. Last name here, California in the address. Complete the zip code. Complete the credit card here. And let's click on Pay Now. We see our message in the thank you page as well. And let me refresh this to go to the order status page. And we are seeing the message here as well. So now we have our extension being rendered in all 3 of the targets that we specified here. Lastly, let's see how we can deploy this extension. To deploy the extension, I'm going to close the development server, and I'm going to run npm run deploy. Here it will ask me if I want to deploy in the same way or use a different org or app. I will say the same way. I will release this as a new version. And now I will click on this link and I'll open it. And here I'll click on distribution. I'll say custom distribution. And I'm going to copy the link of my store here. So all of this, and I'm going to paste it here. And I'm going to generate the link for installing the extension, which is this one. And now here, I'm going to paste this. I'm going to look for this store. Let me try again, copying the link. Seems like it worked this time. For some reason, the other time it failed. But well, if you try again, if you get this error, try again. and you may get it to work. Now let's go to checkout here, and in customize we can start enabling the extension for each one of the pages we want to show. So here I'm going to add thank you extension to the information page of the checkout. Then I'm going to go to the thank you page. Same step, I'm going to look here for add a blog. I'm going to add this blog here as well. And then in order status here, I'm going to add it here as well, and I'm going to save. And now let's go to the store and let's test that this is working. So I'm going to preview here, and let's add this product to the cart. This one doesn't have the metafield defined. And then let's see all the products here. Define the one that has it defined, the videographer snowboard. I'll put it in the cart, and I'll go to checkout. We see the metafield here. This one doesn't have it because it didn't have this metafield defined. And now let's go through the whole checkout process here just to verify that this is working in every step. So here I'm going to once again type California. I'm going to put the zip code. I'm going to complete the payment details with the test payment method. And this is the thank you page. We see once again our extension here. And if I refresh this, we get the order status page where you can see the extension being rendered as well. And that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you have questions. And if you found this video useful, remember to like and subscribe for more Shopify related content, and I'll see you all in the next video.